Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna continue the story What If Naruto Was Trained by a Third Hokage Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
As this woman stood proudly in front of her banner, the class was still in shock. Some of the boys were staring at her because of her clothes. Iruka then came out from behind the banner after a few seconds. He didn't seem to like the woman in front of him very much. Iruka was mad and asked, "Why do you do this every time?" Anko said, "What flew up your backside and died? I'm just here to get my team." Iruka told them the senseis of their teams are supposed to pick them up after lunch. "Oh, I'm sorry," Anko said in a sheepish way. She looked at the students. "Which of you is Team 12? The teacher asked. Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken were quickly named by the rest of the class. Anko took 3 kunai and threw one at each of them. The kunais made them jump a little, but they were never meant to hit them. They looked to see if there was a note on it. Jacken asked, "What is this?" Anko told them, "That's where I'll be. I won't be coming back to get you, so you'll have to meet me there. Just make sure you're ready and bring your weapons." Yakumo asked, "Why would we need to do that?" The smile Anko gave was a happy one. Anko said with a dark laugh, "You'll see, heh heh heh." Anko went out the window to leave. Iruka just sighed, so Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken looked at her. Now that it was noon, Team 12 was on its way to the place on the paper. Yakumo walked with Naruto while Jacken went ahead of them. Most of the time, it was because Yakumo kept herself and Naruto from being near him. He didn't bother to turn around and look at them. Naruto sighed as he looked at the team he was put on. He was also curious about why his old sensei had put Jacken and him together. Even though he had forgiven Jacken for trying to kill him, he had not forgotten. Still, the old man had to have a reason for what he did. He would believe what he thought about this. After some time, they finally get there. It looked like a place to train, but there was a gate in front of it. It had warning signs everywhere. It was big and dark in the forest. When they heard the sound of something flying through the air, they all looked for Anko. They each used their kunai to block something and then waited. Anko's voice was heard saying, "I'll give you little snots and a for your reflexes but an F for your defensive positions." She was sitting on a branch with a dango stick in her mouth when the team found her. She fell off the branch and landed in front of them. Each of them was still wary of what she was up to, which made her happy. "Don't worry, I'm no longer going to attack. Before we go on, let's say hello to each other." Yakumo asked, "What are you talking about?" Anko said, "What are you, idiots? Tell us about yourselves. What do you like? What don't you like? What do you do for fun? What do you care about? Why are you going first? You're the only one in the group we don't know." Anko said, "That's right. My name is Anko Mitarashi, and I'm an interrogator and assassin. I like snakes, blood, dango, and having a little fun. There are too many things I don't like to list. Interest, I would say scaring the crap out of people and making them angry." The rest of the team looked at her in shock and confusion. "This girl is nuts," Jacken was thinking. "She likes blood. How sick are the people in the ninja force?" Yakumo was thinking. "She has something to hide. No matter what it is, it has hurt her a lot," Naruto thought as he watched her. Anko smiled as he looked at the team. "Are you thinking bad things about me?" "No," they all said. Anko said with a smile, "You bad kids, I should punish you, but since we're on the clock, I'll let it go." She pointed to Naruto after that. Naruto said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like my friends, ramen, jutsu, the old man, and his family. What I don't like are people who are quick to judge and a certain condition I have. I like to meditate, play pranks, and learn jutsu." Anko gave Yakumo a nod and then pointed. "My name is Yakumo Kurama. I like my friends, my family, jinjutsu, and sweets. I don't like Jacken, Kurenai Yuhai, ID, and Neji Hyuga. I like tea ceremonies, learning jinjutsu, and reading." Anko smirked at her before pointing at Jacken. "My name is Jacken, just Jacken. I like spicy food, cute girls, and fighting. I don't like midgets, spoiled princesses, or crazy women. I like to fight, train, and sleep." Jacken glared at her and said, "So, I have a bully who is obviously making up for something." Yakumo glared at her and said, "A woman with a hit list and a sweet tooth." Naruto glared at her and said, "And a monk who is a mystery. Well, I've worked with worse. Let's get down to business. It's time for you guys to take the real test." Jacken yelled, "Test? What test? We're already genin. Did you really think that you were a genin of Konoha just because you could make a clone, a replacement, and a transformation? Give me a break. The real exam is given by me, and we're about to start." Anko disappeared. All 3 genin were hit in the temple, knocking them out. Anko came back and stood over her 3 future students who had fallen. Right away, when Yakumo woke up, she scratched her head. She didn't know why it hurt a bit until she thought about what the crazy woman had done. Yakumo turned to see Jacken and said, "Finally, you're up." When Naruto stopped her, she went straight to get a kunai. Naruto said, "This isn't the time, Yakumo." Yakumo nodded, but he still gave the older teen a dirty look. He just let out a sigh and looked around. Naruto did the same as did Yakumo. She asked, "Where are we?" Naruto said, "I think we're in the forest." "You smart guy, figure that out on your own," Jacken teased. Yakumo spat, "Why don't you shut up, Jacken? At least he's trying to figure out how to get out of this. I bet you're just planning your next murder. You know something? I'm getting sick and tired of your crap. You don't even know what led up to what I did. I don't need to be judged by someone who can't even control her own powers." Jacken shouted, "Don't act like you know me," roared Yakumo. "Why don't you do what you say?" roared back Jacken. Naruto yelled, "Shut up, both of you. Something is coming." It turned out that thing was a big, blue snake. It points its teeth at them and jumps at them. When the snake crashed into where they were standing, they all jumped out of the way. They all landed and turned to face the reptile that was looking at them. The snake took a quick look at Naruto and moved quickly to catch him. Naruto saw what was going to happen and ran away before the snake could wrap around him. He came up from the ground beside Yakumo. She gave him a look. She yelled, "Let's get the hell out of here." Naruto said, "We can't leave Jacken. I need you to use a genjutsu that covers a large area." Yakumo seemed ready to complain, but all he did was nod. She signed with her hands. "Meijin, Jubakusatsu." Yakumo shouted. A lot of vines came up from the ground and wrapped themselves around the snake. The snake tried to get away from the vines, but it couldn't. Naruto called Jacken, and Jacken didn't fight back. They all ran into the forest at the same time. Jacken turned to his teammates as they ran. He said, "I thought you two would leave me to the snake." Yakumo said, "I was going to, but Naruto stopped me." Jacken said, "It doesn't matter, I'll pay you back later. It's not like I want to owe you anything." Yakumo yelled, "Kami, what the hell was the Hokage thinking? I would have been happier with Lee than with you." "Oh, here we go again," Jacken said. Naruto growled, "Okay, I'm done with this." He stopped and didn't move. The other two also stopped. Yakumo asked Naruto, "What are you doing? That snake is coming for us soon." Naruto shouted, "I'm sick and tired of arguing. I won't run with either of you if you keep fighting. We're a team, and a team sticks together even if its members don't like each other." He turned to Jacken. Naruto then turned to Yakumo and said, "Our history isn't the best in the world. You don't respect me, and I don't respect you. I may have forgiven you for attacking me, but I haven't forgotten. However, I will trust you with my life because I trust your skills. Yakumo, you are one of my best friends, but you have to let this go. You don't know what led to the attack, and you can't keep pushing him away right before something that was out of his control." Both Jacken and Yakumo looked a little embarrassed as Naruto put them in their place. Naruto took a deep breath and turned around to look at them. He said, "Look, I'm not saying we have to be friends, but we are allies. Let's just put our differences aside so we can get out of this psycho's death trap." Yakumo and Jacken looked at each other, then turned back to Naruto. Jacken said, "Fine, I'll work with you, Uzumaki, as long as you know we're not friends." Yakumo said in a snarky way, "I guess I can put my disagreement aside." Naruto said, "Good, because I'm going to need your help a lot. I think that crazy woman sent that snake after us. So what your plan, Uzumaki?" Jacken asked. The snake moved slowly across the ground as it looked for something to eat. Her mistress told her that they were going this way. It didn't understand why she was playing games. That stupid woman told her that there were 3 people for her to eat. She never said that they were ninjas. She was on edge all of a sudden. Something about the area made her think she should be careful. She moved quietly across the ground while keeping an eye out for an attack. Then, all of a sudden, it got dark. When the snake turned her head, she saw a huge ball of fire coming toward her. As the fireball hit the ground with a boom, she moved quickly. She started to go down into darkness all of a sudden, and there was a bright flash of light. Then it became dark again. Team 12 came out of the trees, and it looked like their trap worked. Their enemy was dead and buried under a pile of rubble. Jacken said, "Well, that worked out well." Yakumo said, "Not very exciting, if you ask me." A sudden rumble came from inside the pit. The snake jumped up from the ground and hissed at the group. When she saw Naruto, she moved her tail. Naruto was able to avoid the first attack, but he did see the second one coming. He was thrown so far that he hit a big tree. Naruto landed in a heap on the ground and groaned in pain. When Naruto fell, the snake went after him, but a sickle cut her across the nose. As Yakumo and Jacken checked on Naruto, she screamed in pain. The snake growled at them and got ready to strike. The two were surprised when Jacken stood in front of them. Jacken stood in a defensive position and held a custom Kusarigama. He didn't take his eyes off the snake as he asked, "How is he?" Naruto moaned, "I'll be fine." Yakumo helped him get back up. He was right beside Jacken. Okay, has anyone thought of a plan B? Jacken asked, did the Sandaime teach you any fire jutsu? I say we turn this lizard into a wallet and be done with it. Naruto replied, nope, I know the Kage Bunshin, the Mizu Bunshin, the Shin Zanshu no Jutsu, and the stuff from the academy. What about you? Jacken asked Yakumo. Yakumo said, my uncle is the only one who taught me Genjutsu. Jacken said, alright, you protect us. Pipsqueak, distract me, and I'll rip this lizard's eye out. The two people nodded and got ready. The big snake hissed and moved quickly toward them. That's enough, someone said. When the voice was heard, the snake stopped its attack and turned to face it. Team 12 did the same thing, and they saw their teacher. The snake hissed angrily at her as it moved toward her. Oh, stop whining. So they nicked your nose. At least they impressed me. Now go home and rest. The snake hissed again before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Naruto gave up and grabbed his chest when the snake was gone. Before he hit the ground, Yakumo and Jacken caught him. Hanko approached them. Hanko asked with a smile, he looks hurt. Why don't we leave the forest? The walk through the forest was calm and tense. Hanko didn't pay attention to Yakumo, Naruto, and Jacken's looks. After a few minutes, Naruto was able to walk on his own. This made his teammates wonder what was going on. Hanko could tell what the three were trying to do, and that made her smile even bigger. Well, I have to say that you three surprised me. I thought you would fail, and you almost did. If it weren't for the blonde, I would have let my pet eat you, Hanko said without looking at them. So it was you? Naruto said with a snarl. Hanko said, don't act like that. I did say that you three surprised me. Now we can talk about the real life of a ninja. What the hell are you talking about? Jacken yelled. You just barely passed my test, joked Hanko. Yakumo yelled, you crazy person. You call what you did to us a test. You could have killed us. If I wanted you to die, you'd already be dead. I just wanted to see if you could put your past behind you and work as a team. Was this a test of working together? Naruto asked. Hanko stopped and turned to face her group. The Hokage says that you three have the skills to be an espionage, assassination team. Usually, spies work alone, but you guys make a good team. This test was just to see if you can put your small differences with each other aside and work together, Hanko said. Yakumo grumbled, there must have been a better way to do this. Hanko asked, where's the fun in that? And then went back to walking. The group sighed and then went after her. It would take them another hour to get to the exit. Before turning back to her team, Hanko locked up the place. She said, well, I have to go tell the Hokage about my team's success. Meet me here at 8, and then she left. The group just stood there and looked at each other for a while. Naruto broke the silence after a long time. Naruto asked, I'm going to the Ikarakus. Are you guys coming? Are you buying? Jacken asked. He just gave a shrug and walked away. Jacken, who had his hands in his pockets, went after him. Soon after, Yakumo joined them, and the three of them went to the ramen stand. Hanko took a few steps toward the Hokage's office. She had finally beaten those old women who were stuck up and gotten herself a team. She started to think about how she would make them suffer. She laughed like a little girl before she got to the Sandaime's office. The secretary gave her a look and let her go. She smiled big as she walked into the room. Lord Hokage, I have some great news. Hanko said, her mood deflating. 3 of the people she hated the most were inside with the Sandaime. They were the most wise people in Konoha. Before he spoke, Hiruzen looked at her like he was sorry. How did your test go, Hanko Mitarashi? Team 12 ate their ramen in silence at Ikaraku Ramen. Tsuchai and Iam, who owned the stands, could feel the tension between the group. Naruto was on his 3rd bowl, while Jacken was eating a very large bowl of beef ramen. Yakumo was eating and thinking about what Naruto had said to her back in the forest. She took a deep breath and looked at her new teammates. Yakumo called out, Naruto, Jacken. Both of them put down their food to look at her. Would you please tell me what happened? Naruto asked, why did this happen? Why did he try to kill you? Asked Yakumo. She quickly said something when she saw Jacken getting ready to leave. What I mean is, can you tell me why? Jacken asked sarcastically, do you really want to know? Or are you just going to judge? Yakumo said, no, please explain it to me. If we really want to be a team, we should talk about everything. Jacken looked at her for a few seconds before smirking. Okay, then, Jacken said, I was told to kill Naruto. Yakumo asked, what does that mean? He said, it's just like I said. My father told me to kill Naruto. Yakumo asked, why would your father want Naruto to die? You got me. It looks like most of the village hates the pipsqueak. My father beat me up and told me not to come back until I killed him, Jacken said. Yakumo still didn't get it, but she knew how the other people in the village treated Naruto. The only people who liked Naruto were Sandaime's family, the people who ran the ramen stand, and her clan. When she asked him about it, Naruto didn't answer. He told her that he would explain it one day, so she didn't push him. You know, I don't know why the village doesn't like you. Is it because of those jokes you played on them when you were younger? Jacken asked. Naruto replied, no, it's much bigger than that, which I won't explain. I'll tell Yakumo and Lee someday, but you have a long way to go before I tell you anything. Jacken just snorted at him. Jacken said, you can keep your secrets, Pipsqueak. I don't care either way. Just watch my back, and I'll watch yours. Before Jacken spoke again, the group went back to eating in silence. So, Yakumo, what's up with your powers? Word in the village is that you almost killed your parents with them. Once every generation, a member of my clan has a genjutsu skill so strong that it makes the damage real. I am one of those people. I was being trained to control it, but the person I thought I could trust didn't trust my skills and sealed them. I misunderstood a conversation and got angry, which led to the fire. This made Jacken laugh out loud. So you threw a fit? Jacken asked, trying hard not to laugh. Yakumo gave him a dirty look and looked like he was about to cast a spell on him. Naruto said, calm down, you two. You're not going to fight near the stand. This is holy ground, and I won't let you mess with it. Okay, I'll stop. Jacken said. Yakumo gave a huff and went back to her bowl of ramen. Can you now handle it? He asked. Yakumo replied, I can, but only a little. The seal Jiraiya-sama put on me lets my second personality, and I combine our powers. She pulled her hair back to show where the seal was put on her. Jacken asked, do you have a favorite type of genjutsu that you like to use? When Jacken cut her off, Yakumo said, well, our clan mostly uses binding genjutsu to disable our opponents. That's boring. You should call up ghosts or specters, Jacken said with excitement. I've been saying that for years, and now someone finally agrees with me, Naruto said. Yakumo huffed, you two are so young. The group kept talking until they were done. From outside, someone slammed their hand on the Sandame's desk. Inside, Hamura was glaring at Anko. Hiruzen and Danzo both looked calm, while Koharu looked very angry. Anko just stuck his fingers in her ear like it was nothing. Hamura yelled, what the hell were you thinking, Mitarashi? You took 3 new genin into the forest of death, and one of them was a clan heiress. Anko said without a care in the world. I didn't know I had to take care of an heiress. I thought I was training ninjas. Koharu said, that's enough of your attitude. What you did was dangerous and stupid. Anko replied, they made it, didn't they? I thought you'd be glad to hear that they did. From what you say, they just barely passed your test, Danzo said. Anko said with a smile, yeah, but they have so much potential. I could work with them easily, and it would be fun. Do you see how stupid it was to make her a Jonin sensei? Who knows what she has planned for them? Hamura asked. Hiruzen said, even though she has bad judgment, she now has a team. I trust that Anko will do right by her new team. Hamura rolled his eyes and left the room. Soon after, Danzo and Koharu came after Anko, giving him dirty looks. Anko made fun of them. Dried up old fossils, Anko muttered. So, Anko, can you help them reach their full potential? Hiruzen asked. Anko cheered. Don't worry, I'll make them the baddest team ever. Hiruzen just laughed at what she did. The next day, Team Anko got back together at the practice field. Anko looked at her charges and saw that they were different from how they were before. Even though they all had the same look, it seemed like they had put their small problems behind them. She was brave enough to think that they were now friends. Anko said, okay, my little rats, you are real ninjas today. Before we start, it's time to learn the rules of Anko. Anko rules. Yakumo asked again. That sounds foreboding. Jacken added. From what I can tell, this is going to be hell, Naruto said. If you're all done, Anko said with a bit of a sneer. The 3 genin shut up and waited until she was done. Rule number 1, I'm the boss, and you have to do what I say. Rule number 2, when we train, you have to give it your all. I don't want to hear you complain about how hard it is. Rule number 3, you can't talk about my training. If you do, you'll get a terrible punishment. The group gulped. Anko said, there are more rules, but you'll learn them as we go. Now it's time to train, and he called some snakes to him. Okay, slugs, let's go do laps around the forest. The snakes hissed and chased after the 3 genin, who ran away as fast as they could. Now that it was noon, Anko looked at Genin, who was lying on the ground. She took a deep breath and put her hands on her hips. Anko said, you 3 are weak. I can't believe you're so tired after an hour of fighting. You almost beat me the last time. Psychotic, bitch, Jacken said. I'll make you pay, muttered Yakumo. You're on my list, Naruto said in a low voice. Anko gave them a sigh. Anko said with a smile, if you have the energy to threaten me, I guess you don't need lunch. They groaned and got up from the ground. They gave their teacher a dirty look and got ready for another beating. As they were moving, the alarm went off. Anko put her hands together and clapped. She told them, that's it for today's training. go get lunch and meet me at the tower. Then she left by Shunshin. Yakumo asked, why do I feel like we won't make it through this? Naruto said, could be worse. We're being ruled by a kunoichi who is crazy, mentally unstable, and has a thing for pain. What could be worse than this? Jacken asked. Naruto said in a lame way, we could be under someone just as bad. Jacken and Yakumo gave him a look. Team 12 went into the mission to get their first assignment. Each person was very excited to start working in their field. All of them could see that Anko was trying hard not to laugh. When they looked at the Hokage, he smiled at them. Hiruzen asked Team 12, are you ready for your first mission? All of them said, yes, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen said, good. Your first mission is to catch Tora, the daimyo's cat. All three genin were shocked when they saw the Hokage. Anko used this time to take a picture of how they looked. For years to come, it would be one of her favorite pictures. 1 month, one of Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken's longest months ever. How could they call these tasks missions? So far, all they had done for a month was these chores. They all glared at their sensei, who just smiled and watched them get embarrassed. How are the skills they learned in the academy going to help them do things like this? Anko did explain what these missions were supposed to do, but that didn't make them any less annoying. Their first mission was one of the most difficult ones they had done so far. Whatever Madame Shijimi was doing to the damn thing had to stop, and it had to stop right now. Team 12 was going to kill the cat the next time it got out. It was something all of the team members agreed on. In fact, Anko just barely saved the cat from a pitfall whose bottom was full of spikes. The next mission was to watch over the Terror Twins. The twin children of a councilman were nothing but trouble, and they wouldn't listen to anyone. At least one time, they were good for the team. But that mission was given to a different genin team. Naruto's ninja game got a little out of control. The hero twins were peeing their pants when Jacken's version of a guillotine was used with real weapons. There was this job to do. They were at the Inuzuka kennels at the time. The mission was very simple, to wash the dogs. It was much easier for Jacken to clean the dogs. When asked why, all he could say was, it's an animal thing. Naruto didn't have too many issues. He stayed away from some dogs because they barked at him, but he got the job done. Yakumo was the one who had to deal with the most trouble. Still, she was trying to wash the same dog. It was a small white puppy that didn't want to get washed. It belonged to a boy named Kiba who was rude and loud. Yakumo was getting more and more angry by the minute, but Kiba just laughed at him. Then Kiba did something that was very dumb. Kiba said, I can't believe they let a weak girl like you graduate. The academy will be easy. Yakumo stopped chasing after the puppy and took a deep breath. Kiba was confused when he saw that she was starting to change. The sky started to get dark, and Yakumo's hair started to move all over the place. Kiba looked very scared when she turned to face him. The face of Yakumo got old and scary. She can turn her hands into claws. Her teeth got so sharp that they looked like needles. Yakumo let out an unnatural scream that scared Kiba to death. Yakumo asked in a scary, high-pitched voice, do you have something to say, you little skank? When Kiba didn't say anything, her head got bigger and her teeth got longer. I said, do you have something to say? And no ma'am. Kiba squeaked. Yakumo yelled, leave. Kiba took off like a rocket, leaving a trail of water behind him. Yakumo went back to normal all of a sudden and looked at the puppy, which was also standing very still. She gave the dog a mean look and then pointed to the tub of soapy water. The dog did what was asked and jumped into the tub. Yakumo sighed before doing her job. Her teammates were shocked and amazed by what she did. That was badass, a stunned Jacken said. Naruto said in a whisper, wow, she's scarier than Anko-sensei. Yakumo turned her head quickly toward the two people who had their hands up to defend themselves. Anko just laughed and smiled. The Hokage tower was left by Anko and her team. Everyone was tired and ready to go home. They suddenly saw that Anko had stopped. All three of them were wary of her. When Anko saw this, he looked hurt. Anko said with a pout, oh, come on, I'm not that bad. The team didn't believe it, so they stood ready. She gave up with a smile and a hand up. Okay, I'll be good, but I have to say it, Anko said. He took a quick look around and saw that there were too many people here. She led her group quickly to a place where they could be alone. Once she knew no one could hear them, she kept talking. Like I was saying, I want to tell you that you've been doing a great job lately, she said. The team was shocked. Oh my god, it's a fake, yelled Jacken. He was thrown out of the alley when Anko kicked him in the face. Anko said, that's what I get for being nice. Be at the training grounds at Ada M. Yakumo and Naruto looked at each other before going to help their teammate. Hiruzen looked at a few of the patrol reports he got every day. He was used to it because that was how a Hokage lived. He chose one of the reports and started reading it. As he read on, he started to worry a little. He let his AN be you know what was going on. When one of them showed up, he bowed. Hiruzen said, I want Aoba Yamashiro and Raid Namiyashi to come here right now. The ANBU gave a nod and left. After a few minutes, 2 Jonin came in with the ANBU member. The ANBU went away while Aoba and Raid stayed on their knees. Rise, tell me about this report, he said. Then he gave the report to Raid, who read it. Raido asked, what didn't you understand, sir? Where was the place you looked into when you were coming back? Asked Hiruzen. Aoba went to the map of the fire country and pointed to it. The eyes of Hiruzen got smaller. What did you find? Aoba replied, we found nothing. All we found were some broken breakers and samples that looked like they were dead. We didn't find anything out of the ordinary. That made Hiruzen sigh. Hiruzen said, thank you both, you're done. They said hi, and left through Shunshin. Hiruzen looked worriedly at where Aoba pointed. He was familiar with the area and the cabin. It was a gift for a student he had when he was younger. It was his favorite student, and he had asked to do his research somewhere other than Konoha. He was happy to find him a place and build him a cozy cabin. Before he went bad and let him down, this was the case. Hiruzen thought that there must be more there. His troubled student would not just leave things alone. He wanted this to be looked into. He thought about sending an ANBU team, but decided it would be better if the person knew how his former student did things. Since he did the same thing to her, it would be a risky move, but he had no other choice. He took out a scroll and started writing out instructions. He took a stamp and put it on the scroll when it was over. When he looked again to his left, the ANBU member was there. Summon Anko Midarashi. Team 12 was doing a new exercise near Training Ground 44. They had all gotten good enough at the tree walking exercise that Anko could now teach them how to use chakra better. She was teaching them how to hold onto the tree with different parts of their bodies, so they were doing pull-ups with just their fingers. Anko watched the exercise as her team did it. Anko said, that's it, you little brats. Feel the pain. She then took a bottle of lighter fluid and sprayed it on the fire she had built under them. The fire got a little bit higher, which made the team work out faster. She said in a calm voice, feel the burn. She felt a presence in the air all of a sudden. Just as she turned around, the ANBU member came into view. Anko Midarashi, you are next, he started, but stopped when he saw what was happening. He did a few hand seals and sighed. Suten Suehachi. He held out his hand, and a jet of water shot out, putting out the fire. Hey, Anko called out. The ANBU said, the Hokage wants you to go to him right away, and then they left. Anko's face showed a small frown. She looked at her genin again. Anko said, okay, I'll go see what the Hokage wants. Keep doing your exercises while I'm gone. Then she disappeared. When Anko came back, everyone on the team let out a sigh of relief. I totally forgot Kuchiyos no Jutsu. The snake from their final exam was revealed when the dust settled. She turned to her summon and said, Mai will keep you company. She told the snake, if they don't work hard, you can eat them. Then she left again. The snake seemed to smile as it looked at them. They all said the same thing. You weird woman. They all yelled. Anko went to the office of the Hokage and bowed to him. I'm here as you told me to, sir. What do you want from me? Asked Anko. Hiruzen told Anko, read this report, and then gave her the report. Anko took it and continued to read. When she got to the part he had noticed, he could see that she had changed. Do you know where this is? Anko said, yes, it was one of his many secret labs, and it was the first one he took me to. Hiruzen sighed and said, then there must be a secret lab there. Sir, let me and a team go take care of this place. We will burn it down right away, said Anko. Hiruzen said, it's already been set up. But, sir, that jerk should pay, yelled Anko. Hiruzen said, that's enough. It's already been set up. I called you in to make sure I was right about what I thought. Anko looked like she was about to blow, but she quickly calmed down. Anko said, it's up to you, Hokage-sama. Please excuse me. As Anko walked toward the door, Hiruzen gave him a nod. Midarashi, shouted Hiruzen. When Anko turned around, a scroll was coming toward her. She caught it and saw that a C was written on it. She looked at him again. I want you to find out everything you can about the lab and then blow it up. It shall be done, Hokage-sama. Thank you, Hokage-sama, Anko said. Hiruzen said, Anko, which got her attention again. Remember that you are responsible for their lives. Don't go off on your own to settle a score. Anko nodded, bowed, and left. Hiruzen took a deep breath and rubbed his head. He thought this might be a good idea. Still, he believed that Anko would protect her team from any danger, even if it came from her own past. Team 12 came to the gates the next day. Anko told them to pack for between 3 and 5 days. They stood still, waiting for their teacher. They didn't have to wait too long before Anko showed up. She looked very serious, which didn't really fit with who she was. She told them what they had to do, and they started to leave. She moved quickly, and it was hard for the team to keep up with her. She looked at them again. Anko yelled, "What the hell are you doing? Hurry the hell up." Jacken mumbled, "Why don't you slow down? This place is only a few hours away." He was caught by snakes all of a sudden. Anko threw him into a tree with a jerk. When Anko walked up to him, he groaned. She grabbed him by the neck and held him still. Anko yelled, "If you have something to say it out loud. When I tell you to move your ass, move your ass." Yakumo told Anko-sensei, "Stop it." Naruto said, "Jacken says what we all think. You're pushing us too hard to get to a place that's only hours away. You're acting strange." Before letting him go, Anko turned to glare at her students. She left without them and kept going. Yakumo went to check on Jacken while Naruto watched his sensei walk away. Jacken cursed, "What the hell is wrong with her? She's been like this since we left the village." Yakumo said, "I know what you mean. She's acting very differently than she usually does." Jacken asked Naruto, "What do you think of this little brat?" Naruto said, "She's very secretive about something, and this mission has only made her more so. Whatever it is, we should keep an eye out for her. If she keeps acting like this, we should probably watch out for ourselves," Jacken said. "Don't say that," Yakumo exclaimed. "She's our sensei and we have to look out for her as she would for us," Yakumo said as she took off. Naruto shrugged and jumped off as well. Jacken rubbed his throat before doing the same. Anko kept moving in order to get to the location in a hurry. She hoped that her team had turned and gone back to Konoha. She made herself promise to apologize for the way she acted against them. She knew that she was being bitchy, but when it came to that man, she couldn't help it. That man who betrayed her trust and love for him. The same man who left alone to be an outcast among her peers. That man who was one of Konoha's top missing nin. That man's name was Orochimaru. She remembered the first time meeting one of the famous 3 legendary ninja. He came to the academy when her class graduated to choose an apprentice. He gave her one look and smiled. He picked her, which shocked her greatly. She was happy though that she got to train one-on-one to the great genius Orochimaru. It was hard, but she grew stronger and learnt all types of forbidden jutsu. She was also his lab assistant. She a bit uncomfortable about that, but she would do anything for Orochimaru. He continued to train her and they continued to do the experiments. That all changed one day. He abandoned her to the mercy of Konoha while he fled to do more experiments. It was a blow that she barely recovered from. She was an outcast and was not trusted among her fellow ninja. The villagers were also wary of her. She later created her persona to deal with everything and worked harder than most to gain the respect that she had. Despite it all, Orochimaru's abandonment still stung. She would always ask in the back of her mind what she did to be thrown aside like that. She did everything that he wanted without compliant. Why did he abandon her? Why did he not take her with him? Why did he give her this mark? Anko rubbed her shoulder before focusing on reaching the cabin. "Hey you crazy bitch, wait the hell up." A shout caught her attention. She stopped to look back to see her team. They landed in front of her before and took several breaths. Anko looked at them with a neutral expression. "Damn, you're fast. Why the hell did you leave without us?" Jacken exclaimed. "I thought you would have gone back to Konoha," Anko said. "And miss out on our first C-rank mission? No way." Naruto exclaimed. "I'm with the pipsqueak on this. I'll put up with your PMS if I get to continue this mission." Jacken added. Yakumo just nodded. Anko looked at the 3 before turning her back to them. "Whatever, we'll rest for 20 minutes before we continue on," she said and dropped to the ground. The team followed her and was happy to do it. The land of sound, formerly the land of rice fields, was on the border on the land of fire. They were known for imports of rice and wheat. However, that all changed when one man came into the land and complete took over. He swept into the land under the cover of darkness and was ruler before the sun rose. That same person convinced the daimyo to create his own ninja village. This man and his men would later call this land the Land of Sound and later form the Hidden Sound Village. A young girl walked through the halls of the underground bunker. She had her hood up to cover her face. A white sash flowed behind her as she made her way toward the throne room to see the leader of this village. Her slender arms had tattoos of a snake. She didn't wear any footwear but carried herself like royalty. She finally reached the main room of the bunker and entered without introducing herself. The people inside tensed up but calmed down when they saw who it was. The girl folded her arms and waited in annoyance. "Why have you summoned me here, Orochimaru?" she asked, irritated. "Watch how you talk to Lord Orochimaru," one person exclaimed. "Quiet, drone, adults are talking," she said. The person tensed but a hand calmed him down. Orochimaru looked at the girl. "It has been so long, Midoshi. At least allow me to see that beautiful face of yours," Orochimaru said. Midoshi did nothing at first but complied and removed her hood. Her green eyes bore into Orochimaru's, who only smiled at her. My word, you have gotten more beautiful. You are 12 now, correct? I grow tired of you. Why was I summoned here? Midoshi asked with an edge. Fine, I have a task for you, Orochimaru said. A task? Do you forget who you are talking to? I am not one of your drones to command, she said. But this requires you expert skills, Midoshi. I would be forever grateful if you did me this favor, he said. Midoshi just scoffed before looking at the former Sannin. Orochimaru got off his throne and walked up to her. He handed her a scroll which she opened. She read over what was on the scroll. I do this and I never get to see your face again, Midoshi said. You wound me, child. I'm doing such a good job taking care of you. Your godfather must be pleased, Orochimaru said. My godfather hates you as much as I do. The only reason you're kissing my ass is because you don't wish to lose the snake contract. I'm not as stupid as your drones, she said. She threw the scroll to the floor and left using a shunshin. Orochimaru looked at the scroll and frowned. One of his personal guards walked up to him. My lord, why do you put up with her? He asked. She has a great purpose that will never die. Should we anger her, she may turn on us and destroy our plans. For now, I will allow her disrespect, Orochimaru explained. The ninja bowed at his master and dropped the subject. Team 12 was moving at a slower pace than before. Anko was still in her mood, but she was at least taking it easier on them. It would be 3 hours of travel before they reached the cabin that Anko told them about. They moved carefully to the cabin and readied themselves to enter. Anko gave Jacken a nod and he kicked the door open. They all entered the cabin. Kana is ready to be thrown. They all searched the place for enemies. All clear, shouted Jacken. Clear here as well, shouted Yakumo. Clear, Naruto shouted. All clear, gather up, Anko ordered. The team met around her and she led them toward a room. Anko looked around the room before she found the switch. She pulled it and a secret door opened up. The team looked down the stairs. Anko turned to her team. From now on, be on full alert. We don't know what to expect. Into the belly of the beast, Naruto said. And out of the demon's ass, Jacken finished. With Anko at the head, Team 12 descended down into the unknown. It was dark and took a long time to walk down the flight of stairs. Anko told her team to keep their minds on the task at hand and be ready for anything. On the long way down, the team was careful not to set off any traps. They started asking more questions about this place, but Anko didn't answer. Even though it scared them a little, they kept following her. Anko sighed a little and did feel bad about how she was treating her team. Still, this was her issue, and she didn't think it was fair to involve them. She was the only one who could kill that man. They finally got to the bottom of the stairs and looked down a long, dark corridor. They were still very cautious and on high alert. Surprisingly, they didn't have to go far before they found a dark room. Damn it, I can't see anything, Jacken cursed. Neither do I. Is there a light switch nearby? Naruto asked. Hold on, I know where it is, Anko said, and he left the team. She got to the wall and touched the spot she remembered. She looked for it and turned it on. What the team saw would stay with them forever. What the? Said Naruto in shock. Oh my god. Yakumo spoke softly. This, I don't think this is true. Jacken spoke in amazement. Tanks with unknown creatures were all around them. These didn't look like regular animals at all. Some of them looked like they were out of date. Yakumo couldn't take it any longer, so he looked for a place to throw up. Naruto and Jacken tried to hold it in, but they looked like they were ready to do what Yakumo did. When Yakumo could speak again, she turned to face her sensei. Is this some sort of sick joke? Where the heck is this? She called out. You three didn't come with me because I asked you. You should have started walking back to the village. Anko said calmly. Okay, I'm done with you. Your rudeness has finally run its course. You need to tell us what the hell this place is right now. Jacken cried out. Anko glared at him. Who do you think you are talking to, boy? We're talking to a Jonin who doesn't take care of himself and needs to grow up. Naruto added. How the hell are we going to finish this mission if you cut us off completely? I don't care much about your problem, but you're putting us in danger. Anko watched as everyone on her team gave her a defiant look. She laughed at them, but she would get them what they wanted. We are currently in one of the labs that Orochimaru built. His experiments led to what you see around you, Anko said in a calm voice. Who is Orochimaru? The ninja Orochimaru. He did this when he was the second most dangerous Konoha ninja who went missing. Jacken shouted. Anko said, yes, and our job is to figure out what he was doing here. You could have told us that was what we were doing here. Why didn't you tell us about this? Naruto demanded. It has nothing to do with you. Anko snapped. She took a break and looked at her team. Now that you know what the task is, let's get to work, she said, then left. The team scowled at her as she walked away. Today will be one of those days. With a sigh, Jacken said, I cannot believe that she didn't tell us about this. What's the matter with her? Yakumo asked. It's a lot more serious than she lets on. Naruto said, I agree with you, little brat. It looks like she doesn't like Orochimaru. Jacken added, who doesn't have something against him? Old man Hokage was his teacher, and whenever he talks about his students, he always mentions him as his biggest regret. Naruto gave a reason. Now what are we going to do? I hate to say it, but until we get out of here, we have to watch out for ourselves. Yakumo said, I agree with her. Anko isn't reliable at all. Jacken said, agreed, Naruto said, and he made a cross with his fingers. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. There were 2 of Naruto. I'll hang out with Anko-sensei while you go with my clones. We should talk to each other through our headsets. 2 of them nodded and took out their headphones. They set the channel they would be on and made sure they worked. As they went their separate ways, they wished each other good luck. They didn't know it, but a pair of creepy yellow eyes were watching them. She listened to their conversation with a small smile on her face. She petted the big snake as it slithered across her shoulders. This has turned out to be pretty interesting. Let's play around with them. Anko was looking through one of the rooms when she felt someone coming toward her. When Naruto walked into the room, her eyes got a little wider. Naruto didn't seem to be bothered by it. So, you got stuck with me because you drew the short straw. Anko mocked. Say whatever you like. Find something and let's get out of here. Naruto said rudely. Anko didn't seem offended, and she kept looking for something important. Both of them kept searching in complete silence. Anko got bored after a few minutes of not talking. She looked at her pupil. So, you've been acting very important for the past few hours. You think you can talk to people however you want just because the Hokage taught you. She did. No, I only talk to people like that when they're being stupid or ignorant. We should have known what the mission was. In fact, I think it was wrong for the old man to give you this job in the first place. Naruto spoke up. Is that so? I didn't hear anyone say they didn't want to go along with me. You were the one who didn't want to miss your first C-rank mission, right? Anko asked mockingly. Yeah, I agree, but you're acting like we don't matter, and I think that has something to do with your problem with Orochimaru. Naruto fought. Like I've said before, it has nothing to do with you. Anko growled. When this mission started, you made it our business. How do you think we can work as a team if you keep going off on your own? How can we believe you when you don't believe in us? Naruto cried out. When Naruto yelled at Anko, she took a step back. She couldn't believe he was talking to her like she was a child. Naruto laughed and put 2 fingers to the back of his neck. Hey you guys, you got anything for me? How are you doing? Jacken put his hands to his neck when he heard Naruto's voice on the radio. Everything is calm over here. There's nothing to tell, Jacken said. He looked around the room where he was. It smelled like chemicals and old blood. He thought this room was where Orochimaru did his most horrible experiments. He could still see blood that had dried on the floor and walls. This guy was a bad client. We both agree with that. Clone Naruto nodded his head. Did the Hokage tell you anything about this pipsqueak? Jacken asked. Nope, he didn't say much about him. I only knew that he was thought to be a ninjutsu genius and that he wanted to learn every jutsu in the world. That's crazy and can't be true. He would age and get weak. Also, there are always new jutsu to learn. If he ever wanted to do something like that, he would have to be immortal. Clone just as Naruto was about to reply. They both heard something. It seemed to rattle. The clone was looked at by Jacken. I am not hearing things, am I? Jacken asked. Only if you're saying something different. He replied. I feared that would happen. When they turned around, they saw a big rattlesnake that looked dangerous. It was coiled and bared its teeth at the 2. Jacken put his fingers to the back of his neck. Uh-oh, there's a problem. Jacken reported. The snake attacked them. At the same time, Yakumo was looking for something on the computer. At that time, Naruto called her. So far, I haven't found anything. It looks like everything on the computer was deleted. Yakumo reported. She kept looking through the computer just in case the hard drive held something. She found something interesting out of the blue. She saw the name of the file. I wonder what Project Jugo is. She was about to turn on her radio when Naruto's copy pulled her away from the computer. Just as he finished, something crashed into the console. When they figured out where they were shocked to see a big cobra staring at them. As the snake came at them, it was clear to them what it wanted to do. Naruto was worried when he heard Yakumo scream over the radio. Hey guys, what is going on? Naruto called out. Anko was also interested, so he moved closer to hear better. The first one to answer was Jacken. I can't say anything right now. I'm trying not to become a rattlesnake's dinner. Check back in a while. Jacken replied in a sarcastic way. Someone else is here, and they've sent some very large snakes after us. Yakumo reported. Anko's eyes got very big in shock, and he ripped Naruto's headset off. Yakumo, Jacken, tell us where you are now, Anko ordered. You need to worry more about yourself, in my opinion. When they turned to see who was talking, Anko was even more surprised by who she saw. Her eyes were filled with anger. Hello, Anko. Did you miss your dear old sensei? Orochimaru asked. Anko gave a loud roar and ran at him. The man just gave a smile and left. Anko was hot on his heels. Naruto turned back on his radio and told his team what had happened. Tell me where you are, and I'll send more clones to help you. As Naruto ran after Anko, he said he had to jump back because a huge boa was about to eat him. He watched as the snake growls and blocked his way. He felt his neck. It looks like we're all in trouble. We have to beat these things and help Anko-sensei. Naruto got ready for a fight as the boa came at him. Anko ran quickly after Orochimaru. She threw kunai after kunai at him, but the man was too slick to get hit by any of them. When Anko had had enough, she put out her hand. She yelled, "Sene Jashu." 4 snakes came out of her mouth and headed for Orochimaru. When the man saw what was happening, he used his chakra to move forward. He jumped and turned in the air to get out of the way of the attack. He climbed down to the floor of a big stadium. As soon as he landed, he was about to take off again, but a group of kunais stopped him. Orochimaru turned to face Anko, who had jumped down to talk to him. I have been looking forward to today. It's now time to kill you, Anko said, and he took a position. Suddenly, Orochimaru started laughing at Anko, but the voice was that of a woman, which confused her. He smiled at her as he looked at her. Sorry, honey, a woman's voice said. Anko watched as Orochimaru's mask fell away, and was replaced by a girl who couldn't have been more than 11 years old. Your revenge will have to wait a little longer. Who are you in the hell? Anko demanded. He is called Midoshi. You can call me that pale-skinned freak of a boss of yours, friend. Midoshi spoke up. He's not here, huh? Nope, it's just me. I thought this trip might be boring, but it turned out to be very interesting. I was surprised that it wasn't hard to get you away from your team. I thought that teamwork was important in Konoha and all that. Anko was angry that she was so easy to trick. She had to get to the kids quickly before those snakes killed them. Midoshi saw where her mind was going and told her to stop. With a shout, she blew up both entrances to the crater. Anko watched as the doors were shut. Now, I went to all that trouble just to keep you from being with them, Midoshi said sweetly. He barked at her. What the heck do you want from me? Anko spat. Just a little fight. Orochimaru said you are very skilled. If you impress me enough, I may let you continue to summon my. Anko was stunned to hear that. Are you ready yet? Yes, I do get very bored. You messed with me on the wrong day, girl. Prepare to die. Anko said, come at me, and he ran at the young woman. Midoshi just smiled. The rattlesnake tried to strike again, but Jacken dodged it. He fought back by throwing a few shuriken at the side that was open. Even when the snake tried to crush him with its rattle tail, they didn't seem to care. Jacken moved out of the way and started throwing more shuriken. He was aiming for the rattlesnake's head, and because he was so good at it, he was able to get it to move. The clone Naruto attacked the snake from above and stabbed it in the neck. It roared and pushed its head into the wall to get the clone out of the way. When the rattlesnake hit the wall, the clone jumped. The clone and Jacken stood together as the rattlesnake shook the cobwebs off. Okay, we've talked long enough. Time to get down to business. Jacken said, open up my backpack, and he did. He got a weapon out of his bag and got ready to fight. The clone looked at the weapon he was holding and saw that it was a Kusarigama. The sickle's blade was a little bit longer than a normal Kusarigama, and it was bent to look like a hook. Around the ball end of the weapon, there were spikes. Jacken slowly moved to his left as he started to spin the chain with the ball on it. The rattlesnake moved along with him and got ready to strike. It moved and shot straight for Jacken. Jacken jumped back and hit the wall with his back. He pushed himself off the wall with his chakra and jumped so fast toward the ceiling. The snake just barely missed him and hit the wall instead. He didn't waste any time and threw his weapon right at the rattlesnake. The chain was long enough to wrap around the neck of the snake, and the spiked ball dug into the snake's skin. Jacken moved forward, landed on the snake, and pulled himself up. He then went on to repeatedly stab the snake. The rattlesnake tried hard to get him to move. Jacken kept attacking the snake, holding on to the chain so he wouldn't fall off. The snake was angry, so it attacked with its rattle tail. Jacken hardly saw it coming and had to stop hacking to avoid it. The snake's head then started to move. The chain got loose when its head moved. With one more pull, the chain was loose enough to let go and get away. It grabbed the chain and threw Jacken against the wall. Jacken hit the wall hard and groaned as he fell to the ground. When the snake got a good look at the bad guy, it lunged at him. The clone yelled, Jacken, close your eyes. Jacken did what he was told, and the clone threw several paper balls at the coming snake. When it was close enough, the balls exploded, and a cloud of black powder filled the room. Naruto picked up Jacken and walked out of the room. He was wearing goggles. The snake was hurting itself by slamming into the walls and yelping. "May I now open my eyes?" Jacken asked. "Yes, we are leaving the room," Clone Naruto said. Jacken opened his eyes and started to follow the clone. He asked, "What the hell did you do, Pipsqueak?" "I never leave home without my own pepper bombs. They are much stronger than normal ones," the clone told him. The two kept running after Jacken nodded. When the rattlesnake hit them both, it stopped them in their tracks and threw them across the hall and into a room. Jacken landed on a table with beakers on it. He got a little cut from the glass, but not too badly. When he and the clone looked up, they saw that the snake wasn't happy. It made a hissing sound and opened its mouth wide. As the rattlesnake came down, the clone kicked Jacken out of the way. After a while of rolling, Jacken saw that the snake had the clone in its mouth. He hissed at the snake as it closed its mouth. Now that he was alone, the snake would focus on him. "Right now, I could really use a katen jutsu." He asked himself, "What the hell is that smell?" He figured out that it was himself. When he looked around, he saw that the room was full of beakers, and each one had liquid in it. Could they be chemical? Jacken had a thought. He started spinning his kusarigama in different directions. It moved in a way that made it hard for the snake to get to him. It made a hissing sound when the weapon cut its skin. The beakers around the room were also broken by Jacken's weapon. The chemicals started to fall and gather on the ground. Jacken saw smoke coming out of the chemicals as they mixed even more. He suddenly saw that his plan might not work. At that point, he saw an empty oil drum. He stopped what he was doing and ran as fast as he could to the drum. As the rattlesnake came toward him, he threw it over himself. That's when chemicals that had been mixed together made a spark. The blast was loud and made the ground shake. Jacken just curled up until he thought the fight was over. Jacken didn't hear anything for a while. He cut open the barrel with his weapon. He pushed the barrel apart with his back and feet. He took a look at the damage and was shocked by how bad it was. He wrote down that he would never do that again. When he saw that it was broken, he reached for the radio. Jacken didn't care about his wounds and ran off to find his teammates. Yakumo threw a few more shurikens at the cobra, but they didn't hurt it much. Since she wasn't as strong as her teammates, she was starting to feel tired. She wasn't weak, but she couldn't fight for a long time. She had already lost the clone Naruto had sent with her, and now she was playing hide and seek with the big cobra. She did have a chance to beat the beast, but she was afraid. She was afraid that she hadn't used her sealed powers since the fire, which happened many years ago. Jiraiya had told her that her seal would let her use her Kekkei Genkai without losing control. He also told her she would have to constantly train her mind. As an extra safety measure, her uncle had her do some mental exercises in a Yamanaka. Even though they did help, she was still afraid of what could happen if it got out of hand. She shook her head and told those thoughts to go away. The players on her team needed her help. She had to get the cobra's attention. Taju Bunshin no Jutsu, Yakumo said. When the cobra heard her, copies of her jumped out and started running around the room. The cobra was confused, so she attacked her clones at random. The clones followed Jacken's example and started insulting the cobra. The real Yakumo started to concentrate her power. She could feel it all over her body. She opened her eyes, which had turned red. She did hand seals quickly and called out her attack. Meijin, Jigoku Koka no Jutsu. Yakumo called out. When it got dark in the room, the cobra was on its own. It felt heat, and when it turned, it saw a huge fireball coming down on it. It hit it, and it was burned to a crisp. The snake hissed as it was being burned. It burned as it fell to the ground. It moved around for a while before stopping and dying. Yakumo was on her knees when the light came back on. Right now, she was very tired and weak. She reached for her bag and took a soldier pill out of it. She took a bite and waited a few seconds for her chakra to come back. Holy hell, what the heck happened here? There was a shout. Is it you, Jacken? Yakumo cried out. When Jacken walked up to her, she let out a sigh of relief. You did this, right? I didn't know you knew Katen Jutsus, he said. I don't. That was the work of my Kekkei Genkai. To win, I had to use it, Yakumo told him. Jacken looked back and saw the badly burned side of the cobra. Remind me to never make you angry so I can use that power. Jacken joked. Yakumo smiled and got to his feet. Come on, let's find that pipsqueak. Yakumo said yes, and he and his friend ran out of the room. Naruto was not having fun with this snake. He tried to think of a way to get rid of the summons. He sent his clones to attack it, but they didn't do much good. He had to get rid of the snake quickly. He had heard an explosion and was worried about his team. He remembered all of a sudden that he had his own summons. He bit his thumb and smeared the blood where his monkey tattoo was on his forearm. He hit the ground hard with his hand. Kuchiyos no Jutsu, Sora. Naruto cried out. A monkey with a wet look came out of the smoke. When the monkey saw the person who had called him, he was shocked. What do you want, you again? I was chilling out. Sora said, I'm sorry, but I need your help. Naruto said, look at that boa. It just hit 2 more clones away. Sora looked at Naruto again. No way, see you later. Sora said uninterested. What? You're just going to leave? Naruto called out. Look, I don't have what it takes to fight. I want to do nothing but soak in some hot water. I'll see you later, Sora said. Naruto was so upset that he couldn't think straight, but he took a few deep breaths and then came up with a plan. Suddenly, I thought of one. Here's a deal. If you help me now, I'll take you to the old man's private hot spring. Naruto said. Sora stopped and thought for a moment. He did remember that spring because Sarutobi called him there. That was a very relaxing soak. Okay, but I'm going to hold you to that. Let's even make that a requirement when you call me. Sora said. Okay, let's make a deal. Naruto said. Sora nodded and leaped into the air. He turned into a sword called a Naginata. Naruto laughed as he learned how to use such a weapon. He grabbed Sora and turned him around a few times. Naruto took a stand once he got used to him. He went straight for the boa. He stabbed the boa in the eye because it didn't see him coming. The snake writhed and hissed in pain. Naruto pulled the weapon out of his eye and jumped to the ceiling. He pushed off with his chakra and drove the Naginata into the dragon's head. The snake lurched forward and slammed into the ground. Naruto dropped to one knee when boa stopped moving. He took Sora out of the box and held him in his hand. He couldn't enjoy the victory because he had to go find his teammates. He rushed out of the room to find them. He didn't even get out of the door before he ran into them. Naruto, everything is fine, Yakumo said in relief. I knew you wouldn't die, you little pip. Jacken said, yeah, I'm also glad you guys are okay. We need to find Anko and get out of here as soon as possible. This mission seems to be a waste of time, Naruto said. They agreed, and then they ran off to find Anko. As Anko and Midoshi fought again, the sound of steel rang through the room. Midoshi didn't look too tired, but Anko was breathing very hard. Midoshi gave her a smirk. Well, I'll admit that you're good, but I'd expect more from a student of Orochimaru. Midoshi crowed. I am going to show you how gutsy you are. Anko growled. So you say, well, I'm barely out of breath, but you're sucking in air. I don't think that's going to happen. Midoshi said this with a grin. Anko growled at her and reached out her hand. Sene Jashu. Anko called out. 4 black mambas reached Midoshi. Midoshi said, please, and she also put out her hand. Sene Jashu. The tattoo on her arm turned into a huge python and ate the mambas in one bite. You must have something much better than that, don't you? I'm getting tired of this place. Anko hissed and threw several shurikens at her. Midoshi moved out of the way of the projectiles and the kick from Anko. She kept avoiding the taijutsu attack with little trouble. Anko couldn't touch her at all. The veil on Midoshi's waist suddenly knocked her off her feet. Anko fell on her back, but she quickly rolled to her side as the veil stabbed the ground next to her. It kept stabbing Anko until he was out of reach. Anko got up and gave her opponent, who was yawning, a mean look. She needed to get rid of that smug look on her face. She calmed down and began to think of a plan. She pulled out a smoke bomb and threw it down. Midoshi smiled as 2 clones rushed out of the smoke and at her. They attacked her, but Midoshi was able to easily protect her. Suddenly, a hand with a kunai pointed at her shot out of the ground. Not bad, she's making this more fun. Midoshi had an idea. She leaned back and kicked the kunai out of her hand to avoid getting stabbed. She got back on her feet and kicked one of the clones in the feet. She then kicked the other clone 3 times, and with a vicious spinning hook kick, she got rid of it. Then she used her veil to stab the other clone in the stomach, killing it. 4 snakes came out of nowhere, grabbed her, and threw her to the ground. Fire came up from underground and hit Midoshi, who was stuck. Anko came up from the ground and looked at the body that was on fire. As she got closer to the body, she was still aware. She saw old skin that had been thrown away. Anko felt a sharp pain in her side all of a sudden. She cried and jumped back to see the Midoshi cloth. Midoshi jumped up from the ground and charged at Anko. Anko's injury made her move more slowly while Midoshi attacked with taijutsu. Anko did her best to defend herself, but Midoshi was faster than most 12-year-olds. The cut on her side wasn't making her feel better. Midoshi took advantage of the situation and kicked her wound. In pain, Anko fell to the ground. Midoshi was sad as he looked at her. I thought you'd do a little more, but I guess that's it. I'm tired of you, and I have to get to work, Midoshi said. When a loud noise caught her attention, her veil was about to hit her. Out of the smoke came a ball with spikes. She moved away to make room. As she touched down, a blonde with a Naginata attacked her. She was very surprised by the skill and speed at which he was wielding the weapon. While Yakumo moved Anko out of the way, Jacken kept an eye on Naruto. Midoshi got out of the way of Naruto's swing and tried to kick him. Naruto used his weapon to block her kick, but he saw the veil around her waist coming toward him. Jacken fought back with his Kusarigama, which he used to pull her veil and throw her off balance. Naruto put the blade through the curtain and kicked Midoshi twice. He swung around the weapon and planted 2 feet into her chest, sending her flying. Midoshi got up and turned to face her attackers. Naruto held out his Naginata while Jacken spun the spike ball above his head. Jacken was the first to attack, throwing the ball at her. She avoided it and went for it. Naruto found her, and the 2 of them went at it again. Jacken joined in the fray. Midoshi had a hard time fighting them both because they were working together. "Guys, I'm ready. You need to get back here," Yakumo called out. Naruto and Jacken disengaged and made their way toward Yakumo and Anko. Midoshi wasn't going to let that happen, so he got ready to call up another snake. Suddenly, she found herself unable to move. When the ground collapsed under her, she fought against this force she couldn't see. She looked down to see a huge lava pool and it looked ready to erupt. Midoshi smirked as she realized that this was a genjutsu set up by the girl. She released a bit of chakra to dispel it, but she found that she couldn't. She used a bit more of her chakra to break out of it, but she couldn't. That's when the pool of lava erupted. Midoshi's eyes went wide as the lava consumed her. The team looked on as Yakumo focused her chakra through her drawing. Yakumo suddenly pitched forward, but she was caught by Jacken. He placed her on his back and secured her. Naruto used his clones to carry Anko and together then left. Unknown to them, Midoshi was on the other side of the room as she watched the image disappear. She summoned a large group of snakes to surround her. One of them caused enough pain to get her loose. She escaped just as the lava consumed her. She took several breaths to calm herself. She looked to see that the snakes she used were dead and burnt to a crisp. A genjutsu that causes actual damage, something like that exists within Konoha, she thought. Midoshi decided not to pursue them. She had done her task and she was now heading back to the base. In her mind, she was curious about this team of Ankos. It was now night and Team Anko took time to rest. Naruto set up traps while Yakumo tended Anko. Jacken, who was already taken care of, was cooking up the remaining rations that survived the mission. The group was deathly quiet. Even as Yakumo tended to Anko, she said nothing to her. Naruto came back and told his team that the traps are set. Anko saw that he was only directing that to his teammates and not her. When dinner was done, her team took some of it and sat at the other side of the camp. Anko sighed at this but did nothing against it. She deserved this for her actions against the team. She was warned by the Sandaime not to allow her feelings to get in the way, but it did. She left her team to fight alone because she saw who she believed to be Orochimaru. She treated them lower than dirt when this mission began. She was only trying to protect them, but she alienated them instead. Anko ate alone again and it hurt. Hiruzen has always been a shinobi with a good mind. As he got older, he improved it and taught it to his students. It was a skill that he also taught Naruto. So, when Anko told him what had happened, it didn't surprise him. He watched her team as he listened to her report. He could tell that they didn't like being near Anko by the look on their faces. It looks like she didn't hear his warning. Anko's report was done, and he straightened up. "Well, then, I can't say that this mission was a success because we didn't learn anything. I will look into this Midoshi child, though. If she is this good, she could be trouble in the future," Hiruzen said. He looked at the genins of Anko. "You 3 can go now, and you're on vacation for a week." "Thank you, Hokage-sama," they said and quickly left his office. He saw that as they left, they didn't even look back at Anko. Hiruzen could see that she took everything without asking. He looked at her for a while before putting tobacco in his pipe and lighting it. He let out a sigh and a puff of smoke. "It was a mistake of mine to put this mission in your hands. I thought you would put their needs ahead of your own pain. Mitarashi, what can you say about yourself?" He was being serious. "I have no excuse, sir. I did put myself ahead of the squad, and because of my past, they almost died. I'm ready to be punished for what I did." Anko said. "Oh, and what punishment should you get?" he asked. "I will quit my job as a shinobi of Konoha right away. After what I've done, I don't deserve such an honor," she said. Before he took another puff, Hiruzen looked at her. "Your request is denied. But sir, you're just running away from this problem, and I won't let you. You and your team made this mess, and you will fix it. They have the potential to be great people, and you have the potential to be a great leader. You won't be able to get away from this." Hiruzen broke it down. Anko let out a sigh and looked at her feet. "They don't trust me, and they don't respect me either. I don't think I can convince them of my point of view," Anko said sadly. "Then, like you have in the past, take this as a challenge. I remember a young woman who didn't let the stupid things some people said stop her from becoming the most feared kunoichi in Konoha." Hiruzen smiled and said. Anko was embarrassed by the praise. Hiruzen walked over to her and put a hand on her shoulder. "You are not your sensei, and he made a mistake by throwing away your devotion to him. I'm sure it will be a mistake he will come to regret. You have the chance to do what he was unable to do. Don't leave them alone, they will need you. Anko said yes and then left the office. Ibiki Morino saw something that didn't happen often. He took his friends to a local bar when the day was over. His number one wasn't drinking at the bar. He saw the bottle of sake and that she had some in a cup, but she wasn't drinking. He wanted to find out what was going on with his number one. In fact, this is a very rare sight. Mitarashi Anko, don't look like crap and start dancing. Ibiki joked. He looked at the bartender and put up 2 fingers. He turned back to look at her. Mitarashi, it was just a joke. Scarface, I don't feel like making jokes or drinking right now. Anko said. Yes, it's definitely you. I was getting worried that someone was spying on us. He saw. When the bartender came back, he set 2 small bottles of sake in front of him. He thanked the bartender, then looked back at her. I know what you're trying to do. You really made a mistake. I know for sure. I don't need you to give me a hard time about it. Anko snapped. I'm your boss, so I have an opinion, and that opinion is that you did something wrong. Anko, don't forget that I'm one of the few people who doesn't fear you. Anko laughed and looked back at her drink. Before he spoke again, Ibiki took another sip of his sake. So what are you going to do? I have no idea. They have every right to dislike me. Because of what I did, they could have been killed. Can I give you some suggestions? Ibiki asked. Anko moved that he keep talking. Get over it and put it behind you. You have the chance to teach 3 ninjas who will probably be very good in the near future. Orochimaru will still be around for you to ask him questions, but for now you have to live in the present. Our past is the past. We learn from it and move on. Ibiki said. Anko was surprised when he saw him. That was serious. You must be feeling sick to your stomach right now. Anko joked. Yes, I need a shower, but that doesn't make me wrong. Ibiki said. Anko laughed and looked at the drink in her hand. She muttered, live in the present, huh? She drank the sake quickly. She slammed the cup on the table and cheered loudly. Let's buy Ibiki a round of sake. Hey, Ibiki yelled, and people cheered. Naruto was eating breakfast the next morning. He was eating some ramen and had a small carton of milk next to him. If you like ramen and milk, you have strange taste, kid. A voice said. Naruto turned to see Anko standing at his window. What are you after? He asked in a rude way. In 20 minutes, meet me at area 44. Don't argue with me, just do what I say. Anko ordered before disappearing. Naruto sighed after looking out the window. He forgot to eat breakfast and got ready instead. Yakumo was giving birds food when she saw Anko standing outside the gates of her compound. She wanted to know more, so she moved to the front. Anko patiently waited as Yakumo came closer. When the heiress arrived, the 2 guards gave her dirty looks. She asked, Mitarashi-san, what can I do for you? In 20 minutes, you need to be at training ground number 44. Anko said. The Sandame, however, gave us the week off. Yakumo said it with a sharp tone. But we need to talk about it. I'll take you hostage if I have to. Anko is dangerous. The guards did not like that, so they reached for their tantos. Yakumo looked over at Anko, who was looking very serious. If you want me to be there, I will. Yakumo said. Thank you, Anko said, and he left the area. As the guards tried to talk to Yakumo, she made her way to the house. When Jacken left his apartment to go shopping, Anko was standing in front of him. Before Jacken gave up and sighed, the 2 of them glared at each other. He asked harshly, can I help you? Be in the 44th area in 20 minutes. Anko said. But what if I say no? Jacken asked. I don't want to tell you. She said something and then vanished with a shunshin. For safety's sake, Jacken decided to do what the psycho asked. Naruto walked into the area wearing his normal clothes. He saw that Jacken and Yakumo were there too, and that they were also wearing normal clothes. As he walked, he got the feeling that someone was watching them. It wasn't Anko, but there seemed to be more than one of them in the area. He went up to his team and stood next to them. He said, you too, huh? Yes, do you know what this is all about? Jacken asked. Nope, do you Yakumo? Naruto had asked her. Not in the least, Yakumo said when Anko showed up. Good, you came. I knew I would have to work hard to do this, Anko said. She was met with nothing but silence. She let out a sigh and gathered herself. Okay, you don't have to talk to me because I'll do all the talking. First of all, let me apologize. When Anko said those words, everyone in the area looked at him in surprise. The first person to speak was Jacken. Pinch me, I think I'm dreaming or being hit by a genjutsu, he said. Jacken let out a startled yelp when Yakumo did that. You said to pinch you, Yakumo said. I was freaking kidding. Jacken shouted. Anko laughed at them and then started talking again. What I did on the mission was wrong, even if I had a reason to do it, she said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. I wasn't put on a team when I graduated from the academy like you 3 were. I became one of the Sanin's apprentices. That ninja was named Orochimaru. She told us. She looked to see if they were still paying attention, and she was glad to see that they were. I only know that he thought I had a lot of potential and wanted to help me improve. He taught me a lot of forbidden jutsu, and I helped him with some of his experiments. I just want to find a way to make him happy. You could even say I kind of liked him. She had a sad expression on her face. Yakumo asked, what happened? I ended up being one of his tests, Anko said. She took off her coat and went backwards. She beckoned them forward and pulled her mesh suit down around her shoulder. A tattoo was seen. We call that the Ten no Juin. It's a seal that gives the person who uses it a lot of power, but you have to give up your freedom to use it. This seal was given to me and 9 others. Only I made it out alive. After that, he left me and left it up to Konoha to help me. Anko pulled the mesh back up and took her coat. She put it back on and turned back to her team. I'm not telling you this so you will feel sorry for me. I'm not telling you this so you'll get it. I'm telling you because I think you should know why what happened did. Anko said. The team knew that Anko was putting herself out there, and they had some idea of why she was doing what she was doing. Still, she had lost trust because of that mission. This made Anko smile. Now that you know, you can make a decision. They said, choice. Yes, this has shown me how far I still need to go before I can be an instructor. I do think you all have potential, and I think we can all help each other reach that potential. But there's the fact that we don't trust each other. So, by the end of the week, I'll be back here at 8 o'clock. If you still want me to be in charge, you should be here so we can keep going. If you don't think you can trust me, I'll switch with someone you can count on. Before looking at her, the team looked at each other. Well, brats, I'll see you in a week or I'll see you around. Anko said something and left via Shunshin. A new day began in Konoha when the sun came up. Anko woke up, sat up, and yawned. She stretched her muscles and rubbed the back of her head. She looked at her calendar and felt a little sad. Today was the day that would decide what would happen to her. She looked at the clock and saw that it was 7:30. She had 30 minutes to get to the training ground. She didn't want to get up, but she knew it would be rude of her to do so. In reality, she did like teaching a little bit. She was overjoyed at the chance to make 3 little kids look like her. Even so, she knew they didn't believe her. Well, no use stalling. Let's hurry up and finish. Anko believed. She went to area number 44. She was surprised to see her team waiting for her when she got there. As they were standing at attention, she walked up to them. I didn't expect this. Anko spoke. Well, I know what it's like to keep secrets you don't want to share. Naruto said. I know how it feels to be left alone when you think someone cares. Yakumo said. I think second chances are important, Jacken said. So, really, you want me to be your teacher? I can't say for sure that this won't happen again. Anko said. But, as you said, we can all learn from each other. We can teach you something or help you forget something while you teach us. Naruto said. Do you think you have something to teach me? Anko said in a funny way. Anko smiled at them as he looked at them. Okay, you had your chance to get away, but now I own your behinds. I'm going to teach you little jerks how to fight so well that you can do anything and kill anything. This is the beginning of something new, my little prisoners. Are you on board? Hi, teacher, shouted the team. Anko yelled, all right then, and slammed her hands on the ground. When the smoke went away, a familiar reptile could be seen. Mai hissed at the team, and it looked like she was smiling. The group ran away because they didn't want to be caught. Anko jumped on Mai's head and the snake came at them. The team kept running as Anko's crazy laughter echoed through the training field. Midoshi spun a kunai around as she slept in her room. She wasn't thinking about the different snakes that were in her room. That team was where she met them. Anko wasn't very interesting, but her genin were. It was the only reason she didn't get out of the snake contract. It was very interesting that a girl could make genjutsu happen. She was curious to know if the other 2 were as interesting as she was. She decided to pay attention to this team. She thought it could be fun in the future. What's your ghost? On the radio, Anko's voice could be heard. In 2 minutes, I'll be fine. Yakumo replied. Make it sooner. Get ready to move. Bangs and Knuckles. Anko said. When you came up with these names, what were you smoking? The only good code name is Ghost. Jacken asked harshly. At least your name is Bangs, she said. Naruto said. What the hell do you want to talk about? And Knuckles, you're Bangs. Jacken argued. Anko listened as the 2 of them argued some more. Shut your mouth and get ready. Anko said through the radio. I'm ready, sensei. Yakumo said. All right, start the job. Anko said. Anko took out a telescope and pointed it toward the T&I department. She watched as Yakumo casted her genjutsu over the building. Everyone was curious about what was happening. Anko heard her radio buzz. Go Bangs. I knew it. Jacken cheered. We're ready to go. We're going to leave. Naruto said. Okay, Ghost, it's time to pack up, Anko said. Roger that, Yakumo said. The Jinjutsu ended, leaving many to wonder what the hell was going on. After a while of looking for what was wrong and finding nothing, everything went back to normal. Ibiki entered his office to get some work done. He shut his door to go to the bathroom. Seconds later, there was an explosion that alerted the guards. They ran to his office and smashed the door down. What they saw really shocked them. Covered from head to toe with orange dye was Ibiki. Even his office was a mess. Ibiki wiped some dye away from his face. No one dared laugh even though it was the funniest sight they ever witnessed. Ibiki knew that only one person could have set this up. Anko, I will remember this. Count on me to remember this. Your team will also feel the pain of my payback. Ibiki hissed. On the other side of the village, a chill went up Team Anko's backs. Naruto took a look at their teacher. Why do I feel like we're going to die young? He asked. Don't be worried. The worst that will happen is that I won't get any great interrogations for a month. Anko said. I was talking about us. Naruto added. Oh, you guys are screwed. You did a great job with this fake murder, but Ibiki will find you and mess you up. He'll probably let you stew for a year before he strikes. Anko said like it was nothing important. Her team looked at her with hate. The next day, the team was attempting to get back at their sensei for yesterday's little stunt. Anko held back and was smiling as she dodged kunais, staff strikes and kurosegama attacks. They really tried to get rid of her today. I have to say, you guys are making me work hard today, Anko said in amusement. Naruto made a growling sound and sped up. As Naruto quickly thrust his staff, Anko had to push herself a bit more. She definitely didn't want to get bruised up. She didn't expect Naruto to stop attacking and jump back. She was tied to a tree by vines that caught her. Jacken and Naruto were quickly doing seals. Once they were done, they let loose with their attacks. Foten Daidappa. Naruto cried out. Fire release, fire dragon missile. Jacken cried out. When fire and wind met, they made a big ball of fire. As the attack took over her, Anko whistled. It also killed the tree in front of it and the 3 trees behind it. They stopped fighting and waited for Anko to start fighting. You think she's been killed? Jacken asked, getting ready to use his weapon. No way, she's a witch. That fire was probably taken in by her, since she can breathe fire. Naruto said. What a horrible thing to say. Anko said. The two turned to see Anko without her coat and she was sitting on her pet snake, Mai attacked them, but all of a sudden, she was surrounded by a lot of clones. Anko noticed that this was not the work of Naruto as the clones seemed to reform after being destroyed. This must be Yakumo's work. They have come a long way, but I think it's time to stop this, Anko believed. She went away when Naruto, Jacken, and the clones of Yakumo beat Mai. They beat her badly enough to make her leave. When they realized that Anko was no longer there, they got ready. Then Yakumo's technique didn't work, and she was thrown out of the tree line. When they were all of a sudden caught in a net, both of her teammates ran to help her. The two tried hard to get away. When the hell did she decide to do this? Jacken cried out. He tried to cut through the net but his blade couldn't. Naruto did the same but his kunai couldn't cut through it either. Yakumo didn't move at all because Anko had tied her up with a black mamba. Anko just showed up out of nowhere and looked at her team. I almost fell for you guys today. It was as if you really wished to do me harm. Anko joked. Her team gave her dirty looks. But you didn't cut me, so you know what that means. Anko enjoyed eating her dango. They were stacked up high on her plate. The owner, who is a friend of Anko and a retired ninja, just shook his head. I can't take you seriously. How can you do that to your own students? He asked. Hey, they didn't have to agree to what I asked of them. Also, it makes you stronger. Anko explained. What about the risk you put them in by putting them with Ibiki? I know he was very unhappy with how his office was set up. He needs to relax and laugh at himself, Anko said as she munched of her treat that her cute little genin paid for. She was eating when she heard two people talking. So you want your team to take the Chunin exams. This time, where will it be? Asked a man. It's being held in Takagakure this time. The Jonin woman said. You think they're up to this kind of challenge? I've heard that Iwa will be in this year's exam. The man said, I believe that they are ready. I've been giving them a lot of pressure, so in 2 months they'll be hard to beat. Trust me, I believe in my team, says the Jonin. The rest of what they said went over Anko's head, and he just looked off into space. If she had to be honest, she would say that she thought her team was almost at Chunin level. 2 months had passed since the sea-level mission that went wrong. After her students gave her a second chance, she poured herself into getting them ready for another C-rank mission. She worked them into the ground to get to that level. She taught them how to use chakra and ninjutsu, among other things. She didn't do a lot of D ranks, but she did make up a few fake missions that turned out to be jokes on Jonin and Chunin. Their teamwork was good, and they were getting closer to where she wanted them to be. But one thing kept bothering her. Even though the team was stronger, she didn't think they were quite there yet. They haven't even killed a single person yet. Anko kept eating, but it was no longer fun for him. It would be a week later when Anko finally decided to do something about her dilemma. It even affected her torturing of her brats. She thought she should talk to someone. She crossed Ibiki off the list right away, so she went to the Hokage. She was shown into the office by the secretary, who didn't like her. Hiruzen saw how her secretary was staring at her and gave Anko a funny look. "What did you do to her, Anko?" he asked. "It isn't my fault her boyfriend was a horn dog. Besides, I was still going through a phase," Anko said with mirth. "Also, Anko, why did you have to see me? Is the team having trouble?" "No, they're fine. They have grown quickly in such a short time." "No, I'm not here for fun. I'm here because I need help with a problem," Anko said. "I'm listening," Hiruzen said. "The Chunin exams are coming up, as you know. I'm sure that my team is good enough to be called Chunin level, but I worry that they don't have the mental strength to take the test. I know that these exams have fatalities and you're wondering if they have it in them to kill," Hiruzen said, which stopped her. Anko nodded at him. "I just want your advice on how I should handle this." Anko was done. Hiruzen knew what Anko meant by what he said. The Chunin exams didn't really begin until after the Third Ninja War. Back then, you moved up the ranks by doing missions and doing them well. These exams were created as a way to promote wars among the nations, only this was legal. He understood what Anko was going through and he did have an answer for her. He was thinking about sending a group of Chunin to handle this, but this will help Anko decide what to do. Anko looked on as he gave her a scroll with a C on it. Anko looked at it and then back at the Hokage. "This should help you with your decision, Anko. Tomorrow, you start this mission," Hiruzen said. Anko made a bow and then left the office. Team Anko looked at the pit and took notes on it. The darkness kept them from being seen by the sentries. Anko looked through her telescope and saw where the prisoners were being held. Anko turned to her team. "Okay, you know what we have to do. I'll be making my way toward the prisoners. You're supposed to climb down from behind and look around. Make sure that no one in those huts joins the rest of the bandits. Knock them out or kill them, but we have to keep them because we need them to join up." "Understood," she said. They said, "Yes, sensei." "Naruto, create 4 clones for each of you," Anko ordered. Naruto did as he told and the group separated. Jacken, Naruto and Yakumo, along with the clones, made their way behind the bandit camp. They all slowly walked down the side of the cliff. When they fell, everyone went to a different hut. The first hut that was hit was by Naruto. He sneaked up to the hut and hit the 2 people who were standing at the door. While Naruto and the other 2 clones surrounded the house, 2 clones tied them up. Naruto pushed open the door carefully and he would be forever changed. He saw something terrible. One of the bandits had a young teenager pinned to the bed. Her clothes were torn and he was hitting her hard. Her screams of pain and cries to stop fell on deaf ears. Naruto was enraged and felt the Kyuubi's chakra. He moved with incredible speed and ripped the guy off the girl. He slammed the grown man into the wall and pulled out a kunai. He repeatedly stabbed the man, blood spraying the walls. Before he saw the man's eyes, he was about to stab him again. His eyes showed a lot of fear. He turned to the girl as she frantically tried to get away from him. He tried to calm her down, but she called him a monster. That made Naruto feel as cold as ice. Jacken attacked the next hut. He and the clones surrounded the hut. Jacken gave the clones the signal and they entered the hut. They quickly dispatched the bandits before they made a sound. One, however, managed to get away and was escaping toward the back. Jacken, who was watching the back, was startled when someone came out. He could tell he was going to shout, so he stopped him. The kama tore into his skin right next to his heart. He put his hand over his mouth so that he wouldn't make a sound. When he finally stopped moving, Jacken was shocked to see that the person he had killed was his own age. "Why is there a guy my age here?" he thought. "Did I just kill a kid?" The last hut was Yakumo's. Using her genjutsu skills, the clones and herself managed to sneak up to the hut unseen. They all moved quickly to the hut and killed the sleeping bandits. As they were tied up and sleeping, Yakumo looked out of the hut and saw a thief coming toward them. He had a little blood on his arm and was dragging something. That something was a young boy. His neck was tied with a rope. She shook in rage and unleashed some of the Ido's power. The thief saw Yakumo at the front of the hut. She was glowing, which scared him. He wanted to make a break for it when some skeletal arms shot out of the ground and dragged the bandit down into it. The bandit cried out for his comrades, but it suddenly stopped when he appeared out of sight. Yakumo gave up on her move and ran over to the boy. She took the rope off his neck and started CPR to try to bring him back to life. This is the scene that Anko walked in on. Anko easily took care of the thieves and freed the people they had taken hostage. She heard a scream and quickly made her way to the huts. She watched as one of her students, a woman, tried to bring the boy back to life. She tried to find her two other students. From behind the second hut, Jacken came out. The comma looked bloody and Jacken was in a daze. Naruto exited the first hut and sat down on the steps. The young girl ran out with a blanket around her. She saw that Naruto had blood all over him. He didn't lose sight of the ground. Anko let out a sigh and walked over to Yakumo. She tried to stop Yakumo, who slapped her hand away. She kept doing CPR, but Anko got tired of it and pulled her off of him. She gave her a slap which caused her look at her. Before Yakumo started to cry, she and Anko looked at each other. She wrapped her arms around Anko, and Anko put her hand on her head to make her feel better. She looked at her team and she finally had her answer. She just wondered how she was going to fix this.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.